Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to briefly go over service valves, what they are, why they are used, and how to install one. Obviously this is a basic demonstration. I'm not actually going to show you the full in-depth installation of one, but at least I'll give you an overview. So firstly, what is a service valve? Essentially, a service valve is an isolation device. It's used in a plumbing system. If you look around properties, you'll see these in numerous places. So why is a service valve used? It's essentially used to isolate the supply to an appliance or an outlet. Typical examples being a WC or lavatory, a hand basin, bath taps, washing machines or dishwasher, etc. And as I say, if you look around property, you'll probably see that these have been installed. These typical ones which I've got here, and there are different types. This is a standard service valve. This is one, as you can see, with the lever type, and is a full bore, meaning that it's got more diameter for a higher flow rate. And this is an example of, and is like a tap, is actually known as a stopcock as well. But this is also an example of a service valve, because if you install this, it will also isolate the supply. And as I say, these could be, if you look around, you'll probably see them hopefully somewhere along the water line into the input of an outlet, such as basin, bath taps, washing machine, and other appliances. Now, as I mentioned, why they're used is that you can isolate the supply, and that's a water supply, to the particular outlet if necessary, and not disturbing the water supply to other appliances. And that way you can then do some maintenance if required on that particular outlet. It means that you can still have the water running in the property without having to isolate the full supply around it, and is very useful, highly recommended. These three here are examples of isolation valves for 15mm pipeline. And how do we install one? So essentially, this is an example of a 15mm pipe. The service valve can be installed, vertically or horizontally. As I say, ideally, it's coming before the supply to the outlet. Now, if I open this, you'll see there's an olive in here. This is an olive. First, this nut is inserted into the pipeline, then the olive is inserted, and then this service valve is inserted fully. Then you would tighten this nut, normally hand tight, as far as it can go, and that's it, hand tight. Now, there's an art form in how much further you need to tighten it. As a rule, it should be at least 3/4 of a revolution after hand tight. And a good way to check that, once you've hand tightened it, put a small mark on the fitting and the nut for your own indication. Then you need to get a spanner and a water pump plier. So I'll get this spanner here. And then a water pump plier, which you hold the fitting in the middle. Be careful where you're holding it, and look where it says, and then checking the mark where you've got, once it's hand tight, do another up to 3/4 turn of the nut. You may have to do less, you may have to do a bit more, but you'll learn this with experience. And I'm just giving you an example here, pretending this is connected to an outlet. Once you tighten it, you'll hear the olive crunch against and compress. That's why it's called a compression fitting, against the service valve and against the copper pipe, and then it will be tight. I mean, at the moment, I cannot open that. Even the world's strongest man probably wouldn't be able to undo this nut. So, hope that's giving you a brief indication. Today I briefly discussed service valves. These are 3 different types. This is a standard type, this is a full bore type with a lever, and this is also known as a stopcock, is a tap version of a service valve. These are 15mm ones. Why they're used? They're used because you can isolate the supply to various outlets such as a toilet, basin, washing machine, dishwasher, and other items around the property. And the beauty of them is that you can isolate the water supply to that particular outlet so you can service or maintain it if necessary. And then I briefly showed you how to install one. You insert the olive into the first of all you insert the nut into the 15mm pipe, then you insert the olive, then you connect both of them, fully inserting the pipe in the fitting, then you hand tighten it, the nut. Once it's hand tightened, you would mark, ideally, this is for once you're learning, on the nut and the fitting how much you need to then further tighten it, and then using a spanner and a water pump plier you would then tighten this fitting a further 3/4 approximately turn, and then you would test the supply, and that will be that. So I hope that's given you a brief overview onto service valves. They're very useful. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.